She used to cry in my arms, whispering, "You're the only person I have left." I believed her, every damn word. When her card declined at restaurants, I smiled and paid. When her landlord showed up screaming, I paid 3 months in advance. When she said she had no money for her mother's hospital bills, I emptied my savings without blinking. And in return, she married someone else, secretly, without a word, and not just anyone. She married my assistant. My assistant, a man I trained, mentored, and treated like a younger brother. I found out during a company dinner. She walked in, glowing in a designer dress, on his arm. When our eyes met, she froze. He looked confused, and I smiled, because in that moment, everything inside me went silent. The love, the pain, the years I spent building a life with her, gone. That night I didn't confront them. I didn't make a scene. I simply clinked my glass, gave a toast, and walked out. But that was the beginning, not the end, because if they thought I'd just disappear, they forgot who made them. My name is Zayan, 31 years old, CEO of a fast-rising media firm that I built from scratch, working 18-hour days and sleeping on a mattress in my office. People call me driven. Some say I'm cold, but back then, I was just in love. Her name was Meher. She wasn't like the women I usually met at networking events or corporate galas. She was soft-spoken, bookish, with eyes that looked like they'd seen too much pain, too young. I met her in the unlikeliest place, an old cafe I used to visit for their strong black coffee and peace. She was behind the counter, fumbling orders, clearly new. Her apron was stained, her eyes tired, but when she smiled, it stopped everything. That smile made me forget deadlines and contracts. It made me come back, again and again, until I finally asked, "You okay?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Trying to be." 1 week later, we were sitting on the cafe rooftop, sipping lukewarm tea. She told me about her father's death, the loans, the part-time jobs. She cried, and I listened. And then I started helping. Not because she asked, she never did, but because I couldn't stand seeing her struggle. I paid off some of her rent quietly through a friend. Got her an interview at a friend's design firm. She was studying graphic design back then. Brought her groceries once in a while. She resisted at first, but slowly, walls fell. One rainy evening, after a long silence, she said, "You make me feel safe. Like maybe I'm not drowning anymore." And that's when I knew. I loved her. Ours wasn't an official relationship. Not at first. It was slow, careful. She'd had her heart broken before. But she let me in, piece by piece. She'd fall asleep on my couch, borrow my hoodies, send me pictures of the sky when she was sad. And I loved all of it. The simplicity, the sincerity, her. By the time she moved into my apartment a year later, my company had tripled in size. I was hiring, scaling, delegating. That's when I brought in Daniel, a smart, well-spoken guy who reminded me of myself 10 years ago. Ambitious, loyal, grateful. I took him under my wing. He was just a junior analyst when he joined, but I trusted him. Let him into meetings most interns could only dream of. He became my right hand, almost family. And all the while, Meher and I were still building a life. Quietly, intimately. She'd wait up for me when I got home late, send handwritten notes in my lunchbox, draw silly doodles on my whiteboards when she visited the office. We weren't flashy, no grand social media posts or public declarations, but it felt real. It was real. Until one day, it wasn't. It started small. A missed call, a forgotten lunch, a message that said, "Sorry, busy today, maybe tomorrow?" I didn't think much of it. Meher had started freelancing again, taking design clients online. Sometimes she'd stay up late, headphones in, working on some campaign. "Deadlines," she said. I nodded. I understood pressure. Hustle. We were both building. But then came the change in tone. The way she'd flinch when I touched her shoulder. The way she stopped humming around the house. Her eyes looked somewhere else, even when she was right in front of me. One night, I came home early. A client meeting got canceled last minute. I brought her favorite takeout, ready to surprise her. The lights were off. I found her in the bedroom, standing in front of the mirror, wearing makeup she never usually wore. She looked nervous, startled. "Oh, you're home early," she said quickly, turning around. I smiled. "Brought your favorite." She hesitated. "I already ate." Then I noticed the heels near the bed. She hadn't worn those in over a year. "Were you out?" I asked casually. "Number just trying them on for a wedding next month." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something inside me twisted. That weekend, she said she needed space to think. She'd stay at a friend's, work on a big design project, clear her head. "I still love you," she whispered. I nodded, but my gut said otherwise. That night, I poured a drink, sat in my study, and stared at the ceiling. Something didn't add up, so I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her location. It wasn't at her friend's. It was near a luxury hotel downtown, a place where high-end clients and executives stayed. The same hotel where I sometimes booked conference rooms. The same hotel where my assistant Danielle had booked rooms for out-of-town meetings. My heart didn't sink. It froze. I told myself maybe she had a client there. Maybe she was working on a branding project. But the next morning, she didn't come home. Didn't call. Didn't text. The following day, she returned like nothing had happened. "I'm tired," she said. "Can we not talk?" I didn't push, not yet, because something told me, if I waited just a little longer, the truth would reveal itself. And it did, in the worst possible way. At the annual company dinner, an event I host every year for my entire team, Meher walked in, on someone else's arm, laughing, wearing a ring, and that someone was Danielle, my assistant, my right hand, my friend. They froze when they saw me, like they'd seen a ghost, and for a moment, time stood still. I should have shouted, thrown my glass, demanded answers, but instead I smiled, raised my drink, and said one word, "Cheers." That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, the echo of their laughter at the dinner haunting every corner of my mind. I replayed the way Meher's fingers had rested on Danielle's chest, gently, like she used to touch me when she thought no one was watching. I remembered how Danielle's hand had rested protectively on her lower back, like he owned her. Was this real? Was I dreaming? I'd seen the ring on her finger. I'd seen the look of guilt in her eyes. And Danielle? He didn't look smug. He looked terrified. The next morning I walked into the office like nothing had happened. People greeted me, oblivious, smiling, clapping me on the back for a successful event. But my mind was elsewhere. Every word Danielle had ever said to me echoed now with a different tone. "Boss, you saved my life. Boss, you're like family to me." Family. He'd married the woman I loved behind my back. Meher didn't call. Not that day, not the next. It was like she didn't even feel the need to explain. Like I didn't deserve even a lie. By the third day, I caved. I drove to the apartment we used to share. Her clothes were gone. So were her books, her sketch pads, and the little framed photo of us she kept beside the bed. Everything was stripped away like she'd never lived there. There was only a note on the kitchen counter. Just 6 words. "I'm sorry. Please don't hate me." That was it. No name, no explanation. Just cowardice written in ink. I stared at that note for hours. Burned it. Then taped the ashes to the wall. I wasn't angry yet. I was empty. hollow. In meetings, I nodded. In calls, I spoke. But inside, I was spiraling. How long had it been going on? Did they laugh at me behind my back? Was she sleeping in my bed while sneaking off to meet him? The worst part was, I kept wondering what I did wrong. Was I too busy with work? Did I miss the signs? Was I not enough? Then came the paranoia. I started watching Daniel more closely. His eyes avoided mine. He left early, came late, mumbled excuses about family obligations. One afternoon I called him into my office. He sat stiffly across from me, fingers twitching. I looked at him, really looked at him. "Tell me," I said softly, "what does loyalty mean to you?" He flinched. "Sir?" "Loyalty," I repeated. "Would you say you're a loyal person?" He shifted in his seat. I think so. I try to be." "Good," I smiled, "because I reward loyalty." He nodded too fast. "But betrayal?" I leaned in, voice low. "That has consequences." He looked pale. "Is something wrong?" I stared at him, then leaned back and said, "Not yet." He left my office visibly shaken. Good. Let him feel it. Let them both feel it. But inside me, the storm kept brewing. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even look at the rooftop of that cafe where we first met without feeling sick. The woman I had loved, helped, sheltered, defended. She'd not only left me, she married someone who worked for me. And they thought I wouldn't find out. Or worse, they didn't care if I did. At night I sat in the dark, playing back every memory like a movie reel. Every "I love you." Every time she held my hand. Every promise she made. Were they all lies? Or had I just stopped being enough? Either way, one thing became clear. They thought I was done, that I'd take the pain quietly and disappear. But what they didn't realize was that I had nothing left to lose, and when a man loses everything, that's when he becomes dangerous. 2 weeks later, I was still unraveling. I had stopped trying to understand why they did it. That part was over. Now I was focused on how deep it went. That's when I received the email. No subject, no sender name, just one line. "Thought you should know what they're really hiding." Attached was a video file. I clicked it with a half-dead heart, expecting nothing. But what I saw, it shattered everything I thought I knew. The video was a recording, clearly taken in secret. A hotel room, dimly lit. Daniel pacing nervously, suit jacket off, tie loosened. And then Meher entered, wearing my shirt, the one I thought I'd lost weeks ago. She threw it on the bed like it meant nothing. "I told you he'd never see it coming," she said. Daniel laughed. "Man worships the ground you walk on." Poor guy had no clue. She shrugged. "I played my part." He came over and kissed her. But it wasn't love. It wasn't tenderness. It was rehearsed, cold, calculated. And then came the part that made my blood go ice. Daniel looked her in the eyes and said, "Once the marriage is official, we'll file the paperwork. His shares will move before he even notices." She smirked. "By the time he realizes, we'll be long gone." I paused the video, stared at the screen. They didn't just betray me, they planned to rob me. My company, the one I built from scratch, the one that kept us fed. They wanted it all, and now it made sense. Why Meher suddenly married him in secret. Why she ghosted me. Why Daniel started skipping meetings and snooping around accounting. They weren't in love. They were in partnership. To destroy me. I felt my throat tighten. Not from sadness, but rage. Betrayal was one thing, but stealing from me? From the company I poured my soul into? They wanted war, so I gave them war. I didn't scream, didn't throw things, didn't call or confront. Instead, I forwarded the video to my legal advisor with a single line: "Prepare for termination and lawsuit." Quietly. Then I looped in my security head, gave him Danielle's full access list, and told him to start digging. If they were planning to move my shares or fake documents, I wanted every single digital trace, and I wanted it fast. By the next morning, I had the data. Danielle had tried to enter my office computer remotely 3 times using backdoor scripts. He'd also sent confidential files to a private drive registered under Meher's old freelance brand. They were sloppy, arrogant. But I wasn't. I revoked all of Danielle's access, sent him a fake system-wide password reset notice, then waited. He called me at 3:42 p.m. "Boss, something's wrong with my login." I smiled. "Come to my office. Let's fix it together." When he entered, he looked casual, fake, but behind his eyes, I saw fear. I handed him a folder, printed screenshots, the video still, logs of his access attempts. He went pale, didn't say a word. "I know everything," I said, calm, cold. "Leave your badge on the table and get out." He opened his mouth to speak, but I stood up. He knew it was over. What he didn't know was that Meher was next, and I wouldn't just end what they started. I'd make sure they regretted ever meeting me. I waited exactly 48 hours after firing Danielle. 48 hours of silence. No calls, no texts. Not from him, not from her. Cowards. Or maybe they were scrambling, trying to figure out how much I knew. I gave them no warning. Then I made my move. I called Meher. She picked up after 3 rings. Her voice was quiet, hesitant. "Hello?" I didn't waste time. "I know everything," I said flatly. There was a pause. Then she whispered, "You saw the video?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. She let out a shaky breath. I was going to tell you." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "When, Meher? Before or after you tried to steal my company?" Silence. "I didn't want it to end like this," she whispered, "but you wanted it to end. That much is clear." I had no choice. I slammed my fist on the desk. "You had every choice. I stood by you when you had nothing, paid your rent, bought you food, and this is how you repay me?" "I loved you," she said, voice breaking. "Loved?" I spat. "Is that what you call it when you crawl into bed with the guy who brings me coffee? You don't understand." You don't understand," I hissed. "You both tried to destroy me, and you thought I'd just lie down and take it?" She was crying now. "He said we'd start over, that you wouldn't get hurt." I laughed again, harsher this time. "Start over? With my money? My company? My name?" "I made a mistake," she whispered. "Please, just talk to me. In person." Every fiber of my body screamed no, but I needed this. Needed to look her in the eye one last time. "Fine," I said. "Tonight, Café Ilara, 8 p.m., the place where we met, where we had our first date." Let her feel that sting. She was already there when I arrived, wearing the same maroon scarf I once gifted her for her birthday. Her eyes red, makeup smudged. I didn't sit. I stood over her. "Why him?" She swallowed. "Because he promised me something you never did." "What? Money?" "No." She looked up at me. "Certainty." I stared at her, speechless. She continued, "With you, it was always someday. Someday we'll get married. Someday we'll slow down. Someday we'll have time." I waited. I begged. And then, one day, Danielle came along and said, "Let's do it now." And I was tired of waiting. I blinked. "So you married my assistant because I didn't propose fast enough." Her silence was answer enough. I clenched my jaw. "You should have left. You should have just walked away." "I know," she whispered, "but I was scared, and greedy, and stupid." I leaned closer. "And now you've lost everything. Danielle's gone. His name blacklisted across the industry. And you? You're just a footnote in the biggest scandal my company's ever seen." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Do you hate me?" she asked. I straightened. No. She looked up, surprised. I don't hate you, Meher. Hate requires emotion. And I ran out of those the day I realized you were just using me. Her lips trembled. What happens now? I gave her one final look. The woman I once loved. Now a stranger. What happens now? I echoed. I leaned in and whispered, You disappear. Then I walked out of the cafe, left her behind, alone, broken, and lost. And this time I didn't look back. They say betrayal doesn't break you in one moment. It breaks you in fragments. A glance that meant nothing. A lie that sounded too clean. A kiss that lingered too long on someone else's lips. That's how it was with Meher. In the days that followed our last conversation, I felt like I was shedding a version of myself I never wanted back. The version who made excuses for people. The version who thought love was enough. The version who believed loyalty was contagious. That man? He died the moment I watched that video. I focused on the cleanup. Danielle was already out, officially terminated, with legal proceedings underway. My lawyers built a watertight case of corporate espionage, breach of contract, and fraud. They tried to deny it at first, but then the video leaked. I didn't release it. Someone else did. Maybe someone in legal, maybe karma itself. Either way, it spread like wildfire. Suddenly, Meher and Danielle became infamous. Headlines labeled them the backstabber bride and the assistant conman. Social media had a field day. People analyzed their relationship like it was a TV drama. The same woman who once cried because she couldn't afford groceries now was known worldwide as the one who sold out the man who saved her. I didn't comment publicly, didn't defend myself, didn't gloat. I just worked, rebuilt, restructured. Within 2 months, the company bounced back stronger. Investors respected how I handled the fallout. Clients admired my silence. My staff, they rallied behind me like never before. But in the quiet moments, I still wondered, was it all fake? Did she ever love me? Even for a second? Was I that blind? Or just that hopeful? One afternoon, while clearing out old documents, I found a photo of us. She was in my hoodie. I was in her messy apartment kitchen, flipping pancakes. We were laughing, genuinely. I stared at it for a long time. Then I set it on fire. Not out of anger, but to let go. I needed to make space, for myself, for peace, for something real in the future. Because here's the thing, when someone you love betrays you, it changes you, not all at once, but in slow, permanent ways. You learn to stop romanticizing potential. You learn that actions matter more than promises. You learn that sometimes walking away is braver than holding on. I didn't date for a long time after that. But months later, I met someone. Not in a dramatic way. No betrayal, no secrets. Just a bookstore, a shared laugh over the same author, and coffee that turned into conversation that lasted hours. She didn't ask about my past. She didn't care about my company. She liked my quiet. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something simple. Hope. Not the foolish kind. The quiet kind. The kind that grows slowly and doesn't ask for attention. The kind that heals. So no, I didn't get revenge. Not in the screaming, slamming doors, or courtroom drama kind of way. But I got peace. I got clarity. And I got my life back. Sometimes the best revenge isn't showing them what they lost. It's becoming someone who no longer needs what they broke. And as I sit here, writing this in the office, I rebuilt from ashes. I realize I don't hate Meher. I just finally see her for what she was. A chapter. Not the whole story. And me? I'm just getting started.